Welcome back to my channel, Escape to Storyland. Today I'm back again with another short love story called The Girl Behind the Counter by Omkar Khandekar. This is an Indian writer. Before I start, do subscribe to my channel, do hit the like button and the bell icon for further notification. So let's go. I leaned over the parapet of the balcony of my apartment on the 15th floor. The preparations for the evening bhajan ritual had begun. I calculated from the escalating hum downstairs. The building watchman was arranging grey Nilkamal chairs in a semicircle between a sleek red Honda and a black SUV. I looked back up at the jumble of skyscrapers. Yardley Gardens was one of the most plushest townships in Mumbai that my family had recently relocated to from the humble cobwebs of Nasik. The westward sun made me squint and I withdrew to my cushy sea-back bamboo swing, resuming the novel in my hand. There are few things as relaxing as an evening breeze tickling you when you turn the delicious pages of Adiga's The White Tiger. It was now nearly 6 and I could hear the boys playing football downstairs. In spite of wanting to join them, I stubbornly clung onto my own novel. I did not want to open my mouth and make a fool of myself. I remember reading, "It is better to stay silent and be thought wise than open your mouth and be proven foolish." Or it was the other way round. Immaterial. I was not leaving. My 10th standard was to start in a few days' time. You could say I was a little nervous. The relocation was a little bit of, like they say, a cultural shock for me. My father had taken up a new job that offered thrice the pay of the previous, along with a host of benefits like company quarters at this place, a Tata sedan, and discount coupons at various dining joints. A personal pizza was no more to be shared by my family. The visit to the restaurants no more meant a strict decorum of mere dal, a paneer sabzi and roti. I could unblinkingly order appetizers to overpriced cokes without a warning eyebrow. Just the very thought of them now made me hungry. I got up from the swing. "Ma, can I have some money? I want to go out, eat something," I shouted as I went inside the house. "Why do you want to go outside?" The voice came from the living room. I spotted my mother knitting, red and white yarn balls by her side. "Your grandmother has packed us some." "Mom, these kids these days," she muttered without annoyance. She was quite jovial ever since we had moved in, and in spite of being the unwilling kitchen recluse that she was, she made me take a plate of paratha to both our neighbors without paying any heed to my, "But what do I say to them?" What happened next is something I enthusiastically hope that 20 years later I will look back and laugh at. She set aside the half-finished scarf for my grandmother and fished her hand into her purse that hung by the armrest of the couch. All the years we stayed with my grandparents in my native town, there was a non-stop bickering between my mother and grandmother. The day we left, I sneaked to look at my mother crying in my grandmother's lap, and the usually stoic lady that my grandmother is, even she couldn't hold back the Ganges streaming down from my eyes. "Don't spend all of it," she said. A crisp 100 rupees note from which Gandhiji grinned at me. The elevator doors opened to a shockingly electric environment. I mean, when you come to such a colony, you expect people to be silent and what's the word? Sophisticated, to the point of being considered curt. But with the noise these kids made with their ringa ringa or catch and hopscotch and whatnot, I almost felt like I was back in Nasik. I avoided eye contact and went to the main gate. The path to the street was blocked by a team of sweaty t-shirts and delirious outcries of boys of my age and less playing football. Let me tell you something about me and football. First, I hate this game. Second, and by no way because of the first pointer, I am no good at it. Although that doesn't stop me from admiring a good game when I see one. And admire I did. The fat guy in the midfield as he dribbled the ball between his legs. A tall, stick-figured boy lurched towards him. The fat guy quickly defected to his left and furiously kicked the ball at the scared teenager who turned reflexively to his side. The ball hit his elbow. Hand! The fat guy screamed in delight and duly encashed the free kick. I was impressed. I looked at them from a distance, hoping they would notice me and call me over. Maybe they were too engrossed in the game, or maybe they didn't care about a stranger gawking at them. I stood unheeded. Finally, I made my way to the exit. Spencer Mall is more of a two-floored convenience store. I was thrilled to spot an escalator and hopped right on. The first floor hosts a small cafeteria consisting of 3 chairs, each around circular wooden tables. There is a glass counter on the left where you get the best Frankies in town. Confession, I had no idea what Frankies were. I wondered if they were so expensive that it would drive my pride of being loaded away. At the first floor, one takes a U-turn to face the cafeteria. I occupied one of the empty tables and studied the menu. The contents were reassuring. A basic vegetarian Frankie costs around 40 and went up to 55 if you wanted many fancy fillings. Szechuan Paneer Frankie commanded my interest. I went to the place and ordered at the top glass counter, and there she was, the girl behind the counter. Hi, and what would you like to have today? She smiled at me pleasantly. It was almost a smile of recognition, as if she had been privileged to have known me since ages and that I was her favorite customer. I bit on my braces. Her perfect pearly whites probably never needed dental treatment. The thick and sleek black tresses almost shone, and one lock of hair hung cutely on her dusky face. Her eyes were everything on the on-screen actors swoon to, and poets write couplets about. You get it, don't you? She was probably a few years older than me and wore a black t-shirt that read Joe's Frankies. I tried to power up, speak up. I screamed inside and mentally rehearsed what I had to say. Just order as you normally would do and say thank you when you get it. How hard is it? A question popped in my mind. How is Szechuan pronounced? C and H are silent. Duh, came the answer. How can two consecutive letters be silent? I wondered. Well, it just sounds better, doesn't it? Says one. I reasoned. But this is taking too long, way beyond the line that separates a customer from this pint-sized nincompoop. And was that sweat on my forehead? Sir? The girl asked unflinchingly, her expressions intact. I hoped she wasn't just pretending to be calm while hunting for an alarm button under the counter. One plate Szechuan paneer Frankie, I said, and instantly felt proud that I didn't stutter. Smooth, I praised myself. That would be 50 rupees, sir. She looked into my eyes, smiling all the while. I must bring into notice one thing. The continuous eye contact is worse than browbeating. You see, girls are not intimidating. Only pretty ones are. I understand I sound shallow, but I call upon the puberty license. Yours truly is no exception to this rule. I feigned interest in the pile of tissues in the waste bin behind her as I dug into my pocket. Finally, I produced the 100-rupee note and extended my hand to pay. At the same time, she stretched hers too and ended up accidentally touching my fingers. I cringed as my fingers tingled, feeling like a biscuit that has been dunked in the tea a bit too long. I went back to the table with eyes squeezed shut hard. Excuse me, sir. I heard a voice in a couple of minutes. It was her voice. She meant me. Me! One Szechuan paneer Frankie. She gave me a roll with salad and a cube of cottage cheese lathered with sauce and gravy, peeking out of the open end. She had pronounced Szechuan as Szechuan. In spite of this mouth-watering wonder in front of me, my heart sank. I felt like stabbing myself with a spoon. Thank you, sir, she said. Hope to see you again. That night, I slept smiling year to year. In spite of having absolutely no dreams involving her, I woke up fresh as a deodorant. The next day, I borrowed a 50 from mother and pressed the elevator button. The same noise on the ground floor lobby, the same guys playing the football, and this time a penalty shootout. I saw the fat guy taking his position in the D and stopped walking. It was the tall guy taking the aim this time. Ready? Screamed the goalkeeper from the fat guy's team. The next instant, the ball was kicked. The fat guy used brute force and jerked aside the guys from the opposing team standing on both sides and jumped high, his head deflecting the ball to a corner. Foul! Alleged a hysterical bunch. The fat guy couldn't care less and bent double laughing. The tall guy pushed him to the ground, but the fat guy was clearly having a time of his life. I grinned at him. I was impressed. Again, the same traffic, the same pedestrians, the same road, the same mall, the same first floor, and the same Frankie girl. I walked up to her and went straight to the counter. Today, I had taken special measures to make myself presentable. I was wearing my best pair of shoes, and my wrist sported father's metal strap Sonata watch. I had taken the pain of applying a small amount of face powder, just the perfect amount that separated complexion from makeup. The style of my walk was confident and tone smooth. I went up directly at the counter and ordered without referring to the menu. She gave me her no use since ages smile and asked me to take a seat. Since there were hardly any customers, the mood was relaxed. I took the seat facing her, careful not to slouch. She was an epitome of effortless grace. The way she fluently dealt with cash, her eased out demeanor as she mimicked one of her colleagues, the elegance with which her features aided every word of hers, and the voice that wafted like an elixir to the ears. The more I observed, the more I was drawn towards her. Ask what her name is, I scolded myself. It won't compromise the national security. But I knew I wouldn't. I dreaded the moment I would finish my roll and walk back. Finally, she summoned me and I went up to the counter. Taking the Frankie, I turned back. I wanted to disappear from the spot. That made me feel like a coward. I hurriedly walked to the escalator. Even when I heard a minor commotion in the background, I did not bother to check it, like I even cared. As I was just stepping on it, I felt a pat on my shoulder. It was her. My heart violently jolted into a seesaw. She smiled at me, the same sunny smile. I smiled back stupidly, not knowing what else to do. "Sir, you forgot to pay," she said. As I lay on my bed that night, I wondered how I could be so foolish. It was embarrassing. Or was it? She gave no other indication of my lapse. What she did was exactly the opposite. She accepted the money and said, "See you tomorrow, sir." I felt so invited. Today is when this phoenix shall soar into the blue skies of hope. I decided the moment I woke up, making up in cliché what he lacks in style. She was not going to eat me up if I strike a conversation with her. Being well-mannered was her job description. Being myself just won't do. Besides, there is no big deal in asking a person's name. I had Shakespeare to endorse this. "I can, I will," was the day's mantra. I enjoyed the movie I saw, laughed hard at the silliest of sitcoms, and in an uber-confident mood, practiced pick-up lines in front of the mirror. I enjoyed the familiar noises of the bhajan, was enthralled by one of the superb goals scored from a distance, relished the evening chirping, and even helped one of the ladies from the store with her shopping bag. This is it, I thought as I went up the escalator. It was yet another slow weekday. My palpitation jacked up as I noticed her. She was not at the counter though, and occupied one of the tables with a guy in his early 20s, deeply engrossed in a conversation. As I walked towards her, as if almost on cue, I saw her affectionately pulling his cheek. It was only when I reached the counter that she noticed me. "Customer, darling," she whispered to the guy, getting up in a rush. "Hey, wait up!" The guy insisted, catching her by the wrist. "Oh no," she began to protest. "I have to." "Come on," the guy was persistent. "I'm sure he won't mind us having a minute. Would you, kid?" That was my call. "Oh, no, carry on." I somehow mumbled. I wanted to look away. I didn't. I should have. I didn't. The guy kissed her on her cheek, and she responded by whispering something in his ear. "See you soon," she said, waving him goodbye. She went behind the counter and adorned her position, giving me another of her well-practiced smile, and she asked, "A paneer chili Frankie?" I didn't know what to say. Somehow, I managed a "never mind" and started walking out. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she said apologetically behind me. Her voice dipped in desperation. "It's Szechuan paneer, isn't it?" I didn't respond and followed a chirpy middle-aged couple out on their grocery shopping down the escalator. I rehashed the events in my mind and tried to articulate what I felt being the unwilling witness. Was I sad? No, that was not what it felt like. It was a funny feeling. I cursed myself. Funny won't do. Such words are what stupid people resort to. I did like her. Yes, sir. Most definitely I did. Or did I? Was it that I felt for her? I stopped on my tracks as the word hit me between the eyes. Fascination. I turned and looked at one of the strange glass windows of the Spencer Mall. I was captivated by her. By the novelty, she was like a Da Vinci painting, like an amazing novel. I turned to look at the stained glass facade of the mall. She was my white tiger. So why did I turn back? Wasn't today one of the most confident days? Why should it be a was? What if she had a boyfriend? What was I hoping for anyway? Nothing. A happy voice rang inside me. I like the Frankie. I like the Frankie girl. So what's stopping me from having both of them just now? Nothing, came the reply again, even happier. I retraced my footsteps. There was no audible heartbeat this time, only pangs of joy, of inexplicable ecstasy. I went to the counter and smiled. "Hello," I said. "Hi, sir," she replied, for once more surprised than rehearsed happiness. "Name's Aurora. Nikhil Aurora. I am the king of cliches." I smiled wider. She followed suit. "Right, Nikhil," she said. "And you will have one Szechuan paneer Frankie." I shared a moment with her. "That's right." "Right away, Nikhil," she said. "Please, have a seat." "Sure," I said and waited till she called me. And eventually, call she did. "Nikhil, your Frankie's ready." "Oh, yes, thank you." I took the roll from her. "By the way, there's something I've been meaning to tell you." "Yes?" She looked into my eyes inquisitively. I took a deep breath. "Yes, I can." "I love your smile," I said. "Thank you, sir." She beamed gracefully, bowing her head a little. "Oh, and there's something I've been meaning to tell you too." I stared at her. That was unexpected. "Yes?" "My name is Roshni." She grinned, extended her hand forward. I shook it. This time, there was no long-lasting tingling sensation, no desperate urge to smell the palm for a residual fragrance. It was just a warm handshake, the way it is meant to be. I went back to my building. All the football players had evaporated but for one guy. The fat guy was shooting against the wall, and chasing the ball as it bounced back. I felt inclined to talk to him, but zeroed on procrastinating it. I had socialized too much for a day already. As I walked towards the lobby, I heard a "Dude!" I turned around to see that the fat guy was calling me. "That," he said, pointing at my Frankie in my hand. "That has paneer in it?" "Yes," I said, slowly wondering what was the guy up to. "Then share it, no? Don't be so selfish," he said and grabbed at it. I didn't mind it. Nothing about his tone was forceful. On the contrary, it was friendly. "By the way," he said, his mouth full, "I'm Aditya. And you?" "Nikhil," I said, and extended a hand forward. "Good, man," Aditya said, almost moaning at the taste. "This shit is good." I was amused. The guy was ravenously friendly. Somewhere not far off, I saw a figure running towards us. That thing was skipping, almost bouncing towards us in excitement. Aditya recognized the figure, and his eyes lit up as the figure too gave a squeal of joy. "Dude," he said, dropping the pancake, and hugged her. The girl was about my age, a few inches shorter than me, but extremely attractive. She hugged him back. "Oh my God, where have you been for so many days?" Awkwardness started flooding inside me. Aditya noted my presence and quickly released her. "Dude," he said, "this is my cousin." Then he noticed the mess he created by dropping the Frankie. "Oh shit, I dropped it, did I? Wait, I'm going to run and get one for each of you. Hang in there, won't be long." Well, the girl turned from a scampering Aditya to look at me. "What's your name, did you say?" I didn't. I said almost reflexively. "Did I?" "Let's try again," she chuckled. "What's your name?" "Nikhil," I said. "I'm Roshni," she said, extending her hand. My face brightened. "Roshni, did you say?" "Yeah. Why?" "Pleased to meet you." I beamed and offered my hand. She shook it. Was it a tingling sensation I felt? That was the end of our story, The Girl Behind the Counter. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will be back again with another wonderful short story. Till then, do subscribe to my channel and thank you so much for tuning in for today.